Hello, sweet parents. Welcome to the When Our Adult Children Walk Away podcast. My name is Dr. Janet Steinkamp, and during each episode of When Our Adult Children Walk Away, I will provide my professional and personal insights, information and opportunities for your self-reflection and growth, tips and tricks to make every day count, and encouragement to keep moving forward. I'm here to help you dig deep and get down to the root causes so that you can find your way out of the darkness to a positive and lasting relationship. Grab your notebook and a pen, settle into your favorite chair, and let's get to it. In this episode, we are continuing our conversation about communication. We're going to continue with a number of different topics related to communication. In the case of this episode, we are talking about how to avoid being misrepresented by other people. So we have 6 specific points that we're going to talk about here. The first one is, number 1, open and direct communication. Establish direct communication with your adult child if you can. Now, when I say direct communication, I'm saying if there is one conduit that you know you could contact them and they could contact you, protect that at all costs. Protect that. As long as you have that access point, you know you're still connected. You may not use it because they've said no contact. They may not use it because they don't want to talk to you, but it's there. Hold that close. If they cut you off, if they block you on Facebook, block your email, block your phone, whatever, don't do it back. It's tempting. It's tempting. They hurt us, we hurt them. That's the first cycle through those first 3 stages of grief. The disbelief, anger, and despair. There are many times that you just want to lash out and make sure they know what it feels like. The sooner we can manage that, and the more consistent we are at avoiding that, the stronger the likelihood that we will have at least one means of communication if we need it. So number 1, open direct communication. Any communication that you do send to them needs to demonstrate consistent behavior and that you're addressing any potential sources of misinformation. Number 2, clarify misunderstandings. If you suspect that there's been a misunderstanding or somebody is misrepresenting information, address that openly. Talk to the person who's responsible. Check it out. Hey, I hear you said to so-and-so that I was feeling really angry about what happened at the wedding, blah, 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 whatever the story is. And I just want to check in with you and chat about that because I didn't say that. I don't feel that way. And it's really concerning to me that might be a message that's out there that would get back to my son or daughter. Can you tell me what really went on so I understand? You can have that kind of direct communication with somebody who is misrepresenting you. No emotion. You're not angry. There's no payback. There's no shaming or blaming. It's simply a conversation. Number 3, maintain consistent behavior. Actions speak louder than words. We've said that for generations. I mean, maybe the cavemen said that. I don't know, but it's just a basic tenet of life. Actions speak louder than words. Do as I say, not as I do. You know, there are all kinds of little sayings around that. So we need to be consistent. We need to demonstrate the behavior and values that you want to be recognized for, that you want people to talk about. You need to, we all do. I'm not pointing a finger at you. I'm using you as in the general you. A person needs to pay attention to how they're behaving. They're nonverbal. 75% of communication is nonverbal. So people may be saying a certain thing while their nonverbals are screaming something else. You need to have a sense of your nonverbals and what you're communicating, both verbally and nonverbally. This is a lot of the work that I do with people when I work with them one-on-one. We dig deep into communication style, behaviors, We look at the tools that people use. How do we get them either stronger tools or sharpen their tools so that when they are communicating, they're representing themselves accurately, transparently, and so that other people receive the communication the way we all intend to communicate it. The message that we want to send is received as the message we want them to receive. So we're not undermining ourselves. I worked with a physician. I work with a lot of physicians. That's how I pay my bills. I'm a physician coach in communication. I worked with a physician who every time he apologized, he shrugged. He had this nervous twitch, and it looked like he was shrugging, and he was completely discounting himself. He wasn't even aware he was doing it. So we had to work on getting rid of that shrug. So we really need to work on our communication and make sure that that we're maintaining consistent behavior and consistent communication. Number 4, seek mediation or counseling. I would suggest instead that we seek mediation or coaching. Counseling, the therapists today aren't necessarily prepared to understand the dynamics of estrangement and to help unbraid the jello of how we got to the point of estrangement on the continuum. Now I'm talking about no contact. As our relationship moves on to the continuum of estrangement, our adult children start to pull away. They throw out a warning across the bow. When we first start noticing that they are disengaging, and it goes on for a period of time, and when we ask about it, they don't want to talk about it, or they talk about it in a way that we just don't understand, that's the time to consider getting coaching. I had this experience today with my son. There's never been a doubt that he was connected to me, connected to my husband. He's kind of our rock steady adult child. He's getting married in 4 weeks. And today, for the first time, he said something. It stopped me in my tracks. And I knew he was drawing a line. I knew he was saying, Mom, back up. Back up, you're crossing a boundary, and I'm tightening up the boundary. You have less space here in my life now. You have less space in my head. You don't have as much right to my business as you used to have. In other words, he's choosing his wife. Fair enough. That's what I want him to do. It didn't feel good. I was surprised. I was caught off guard. For about 4 hours, I just sat and cried. Not because he hurt my feelings, but because I understood and recognized that he was serious, that I needed to listen, and I needed to adapt my behavior. His statement was fair. It was clear, direct, and it didn't feel good. I needed to listen to that and pay attention. If I don't, I know what direction we're headed. I know it. I know it because this is work I do. I know it because I've lived it. And I know it because that's the state of adult children today. They pull away in a fashion that cuts us off. So that's number 4, seek mediation or counseling. Number 5 is to avoid negative talk. Do not say anything out loud that you wouldn't say directly to your son or daughter. And don't say anything that you would say to your son and daughter that would become problematic, challenging, disrespectful, discourteous, rude. Suddenly, we don't get to talk about housekeeping anymore. I just was out to visit my son and his fiance, and we had a very, very nice visit. I was a guest in that house, and that wasn't the case in prior years. Their relationship has become more serious. They're getting married. They're now establishing their own identity as a couple and their own family unit. And so I don't belong there the way I used to feel like I did. I don't belong in his life the way I used to. And that is actually very normal and natural. It's important that people have space to establish their own identity in adult relationships. So avoid negative talk, refrain from speaking negatively about them, about your situation, about other people that may have been involved, or we talk a lot about the cult of one. My daughter happened to leave us in a cult of one situation, which, of course, my husband and I recognized 11 years ago. And when we tried to say something about it, we didn't say it well. We didn't say it adult to adult. We said it parent to child. And we just went about it in such a destructive way. We didn't know it then. It wasn't intentional. At all, it wasn't intentional. We had only the best intentions, and we were scared. We were scared for our daughter, and it backfired. The things that we did, and I mean, I'm in mental health. I work in counseling. I've been in education and healthcare for years. My husband is a social worker. We are not ill-prepared for relationships. We understand dynamics in relationships, and I'm telling you, we laid an egg. When we look back, I can't speak for my husband. When I look back at my behavior and how I interacted, in short, I'll just say, this is another topic for another episode, but as my daughter grew and matured, I did not mature as a parent. So I plateaued at about junior year in high school, and she continued to grow into an independent adult, a woman, a mom. And it took me quite a while to catch up. It took me a long time to let go of my identity of a high school mom with kids who were busy and needed me, and I was their guide, and I was there to hold them up and be their rock. They don't need us that way anymore when they reach adulthood. They don't want us that way anymore when they reach adulthood. And that's not a slight to us. We do have to grieve. We have to grieve the loss of that identity, if that's an identity that we held on to and meant a lot to us. So we have to avoid negative talk. Negative talk sells. Positive talk, not so much. So if we talk positive, that is one way of avoiding misrepresentation, and it's also a way to avoid the busybody. Spreading positive news is not nearly as fun, doesn't cause nearly the drama. Number 6 is interesting. Document your thoughts, your feelings. If you journal, anything you write that you think they will lay eyes on at some point in the future, and really you can kind of count on them laying eyes on most anything that you write. Write one version for you and one version for them. So if you're building an email catalog, of course you're not sending these things if they've told you that they want no contact. And you're giving them space if they're starting to pull away. You're trying to respect that, their need for independence and space. So it's almost like writing to a diary or writing in a diary, except you're writing to them. When we lost contact with my daughter and her 2 children, they were about 2, and I started writing a note to them every 2 or 3 times a week, not about the estrangement. Of course, I always said I loved them and missed them and hoped they were well, but about my thoughts and feelings and life and what was going on in the world. And during COVID, there was a lot of, I wrote a lot about, our fears and concerns and the risks and how our countries were managing it. It was an interesting time to write. So I don't know that they'll be interested in any of that ever. What I know is that by doing that, they will see that I thought of them very regularly, that I was never angry at them, that I did not hold them responsible for any of the dishappiness and the anger that was going on my daughter's part and my part and all that emotional stuff, all that adult stuff. It's just not the kids. It's not theirs. So I did say, kind of peppered those communications with, I really love your mom and miss her. I really hope your mom and your family are doing well. I chose not to mention the dad. I was fairly hopeful and confident that at some point that would run its course and he would, that they would not be together forever. Not that I wished it. I certainly hoped for her that she was well and making healthy choices. So number 6, write, journal, keep a log, write letters, and organize it in a way that they will be able to read and understand. To quickly review, our 6 points about avoiding misrepresentation. Establish open and direct communication with your adult child if you can, and with others around you. Number 2, clarify any misunderstandings. If there's a misunderstanding between you and another person, don't let it linger. And if you think there's a misunderstanding between you and your adult child, watch for opportunities to sort out the misunderstanding. Not to make excuses or explain, but to sort it out. So number 3, maintain consistent behavior. Actions speak louder than words. 4, seek mediation and counseling or coaching. And number 5, avoid negative talk. Number 6, document your efforts. Document your evolution, what you've learned about yourself, what you learn about life, and keep a catalog for family history for the day that your adult children or your grandchildren, when they grow up, want to learn more about you. I hope this is helpful information. And again, I encourage you to go out, listen to the other podcast episodes, in particular related to communication in this estrangement. And I would say that the grief series is also an excellent series of episodes to listen to.